Hello there and welcome back to my channel, or if this is the first video of mine you are seeing, then welcome. If you have watched any of the last everyday makeup drawer videos I've had maybe within the past like 2 or 3 months, then you would have known how just chaotic this drawer has become. These are all of my blushes. I have powders on this side, which you can see are just like completely overlapping with one another. I've just laid them on top. They're not even organized anymore. And the same thing here with the cream side. Well, this is actually a powder, so see, it should be over here. The same thing with the cream side. They're just overflowing. This drawer is really messy and I wanted to reorganize it, so I thought it would be fun just to take you along with me while I reorganize this drawer. And I'm going to be doing an updated blush collection. I'm going to be swatching all of the blushes that you see here. I have had a video like that before on my channel. People really seem to like that, and I know that I personally enjoy collection videos too. I love to see what makeup products people have. And that video is, well, fairly old now because I had done a large blush declutter since that video, so I thought it'd be fun to do this again. So I'm going to be taking out all of these from this drawer and I'm going to reorganize them. I think I'm going to maybe try to reorganize them by brand in alphabetical order. We'll see how well that does, and then I'm going to swatch each and every one of them, and then we are going to place them back neatly into this drawer. So if that sounds interesting, let's get started. Okay, here are all of my B's in powder. I'm going to be doing the powder first and then doing the creams and then doing blush palettes at the very end. I will have timestamps listed for you below. I'm going to try my best to do these in alphabetical order per category, but I might not be able to be perfect with it, but I'm going to do the best I can. I didn't have any A blushes as far as powder goes, so let's start with the B's, and the first ones here I have are from Bare Minerals, and this first one is from Bare Minerals. This is one of their Gin Nude blushes, and this one is in the shade That Peach though. I am not exactly sure if this blush is still even available because I got mine at TJ Maxx. So this particular blush might not be available anymore, and probably the packaging definitely isn't, but I still think it's a really pretty shade. It's like a really pretty, really warm tone shade. Then I have 3 of the bronzer shades. Of course, the first one is Kiss of Pink, which is my absolute favorite of the 3. As you're going to definitely see based on like the amount I've used this one versus when I'm just going to show you the next 2. I just think that this is such a pretty blush. It is definitely my favorite out of the ones I own. This is perfect. And this one right now is in my everyday makeup drawer. It's a beautiful shade. I know they have 2 more shades, I believe, now in this line. I haven't picked those up. I probably won't because I just favor this one so much, but it's just really stunning. The next bronzer shade I have is Kiss of Rose, and you're going to be able to see right there how I haven't touched this one or the next one I'm going to swatch the way I have the Kiss of Pink shade. I just think that that one is perfect. And while this is beautiful, you can see how pigmented that is, and it's just not a shade that I reached for a ton. I do want to get some use out of it though, because I've been really kind of loving some of the darker blushes lately, like berry shades. So I really want to get more into some of these more intense blushes and wear them a little more, but it's really beautiful. I mean, amazing pigment on these. And then the last bronzer I have is Kiss of Copper, and this one is really pretty as well, but I haven't gotten as much use out of this one either, but it's a really beautiful shade. I actually think that this one is like almost like a perfect mixture of these 2 shades, but it's equally just as stunning, and I should really get some more use out of it. Maybe in some upcoming everyday makeup drawers I can include these 2 shades of the bronzer. The next one I have is from Becca. This is one of their mineral powder blushes, and this one was in the shade Flower Child. This was one of my most favorite shades ever. It is so stunning. I know this isn't a brand anymore, but I have held on to this shade over and over, and the closest I've been able to match it is with a shade from Rimmel, which is, I think, Third Base, I believe. That's the closest I've come to matching this blush, and I just think it is so lovely. I hate that this blush doesn't exist anymore because I don't know, I just thought this was just such a lovely shade. One of my all-time favorites, and that's why I haven't let this blush go, and I don't even want to really use it because I want to hit pan on it, but then I also don't want to because I know I can't get it anymore unless maybe I found it secondhand. But I love it. That's just such a pretty shade. Next we have a blush from Believe Beauty. This is one of their major monochrome matte and shimmer blush duos, and this one is in the shade Risky Business. So I'm going to swatch these, I guess, separately if at all possible, so you can see the shades like that. But usually when I wear this, I'm wearing the shades mixed, but there you can see the more shimmery. And then the other side. Just really pretty. You can definitely tell that I'm probably going to have a type when I swatch a lot of these blushes, but I just think that's really, really stunning. I did have more of these Believe Beauty blushes, but I ended up decluttering some of them, but they are an amazing formula in my opinion, and they're really affordable. Everything is like less than $5, I believe, or at least $6. They're available at Dollar General, and I think that they do a pretty good job with a lot of their makeup. I haven't worn a lot of their products in a very long time, but seeing this swatched out, definitely need to change that. Then we have another one that's in my everyday makeup drawer. This one is from Burt's Bees. This is one of their bamboo blushes, and this one is in Shy Pink. This is such a lovely blush shade. Like I think they have like 3 shades maybe. They might have more than that now. I'm not exactly sure. But I always favored this one the most over the other 2. I mean, just look how pretty that is. Definitely looks very similar to these, but I feel like at the end of the day, most of my blushes are going to look the same, but I really love blush. It's one of those categories where I just feel like I can't have enough of them, even though I definitely have more than my fair share, but I just think it's probably the category that makes me the most happy. That used to be eyeshadow, and I love eyeshadow, but I've kind of gotten more into complexion products more so than eyeshadow lately, and blush just makes me the happiest out of all the categories of makeup. Next we have ColourPop. Honestly, I figured that I would have more of their blushes, but surprisingly I don't. However, I will say that the top row with those heart-shaped blushes, I wish now that I had all of them. I don't need all of them, but I love the compacts so much. I love hearts, so they're just so pretty. But let's start with this first one here. And this one is in the shade Kiss and Tell. This one would be my favorite one. Oh no. As you can see, this just pretty little soft everyday shade, which I love. Yes, I've gotten more into some of the berries, but shades like this will always have my heart. I mean, just look at that. The perfect everyday shade, the type of blush that will go with anything and everything. Okay, then we have the next one, which is in the shade My Type. We have this pretty pop of pink. I don't wear this one or the red one as much as I do the other, but I should. These are really pretty. I mean, just look how cute that is. Cute little pop of pink. And then we have Love Me Not, which is this gorgeous red shade. It's really pretty. I know ColourPop also has some blushes that are like powder, and they're in these little compacts now, like the square compacts. I haven't tried any of those yet, but maybe I should. Maybe I can pick up a couple of shades of those and try out that formula. Then I picked up both of the blushes from the Animal Crossing collection. This one is in Flower Power. These are pretty. I just feel like this should have been a permanent blush. This one and the next one, I don't know. I just think they were just so pretty. The packaging was really cute. I love the flower that's on the blush. I just think it's just such a stunning shade too. Really pretty pop of pink. And then we have the more warm tone option, which was Flower Tender. I mean, these are just so pretty. Swatch that one right here. That's a pretty shade. Like, just look how stunning these shades are. And then I have the 3 blushes from the 1111 collection. The first one is Good Energy, which is the lightest one. This one would be, of course, my favorite. I love these very soft, delicate blush tones. I mean, just as you can see, look how soft that is. That is so pretty. Okay, then we have the next shade, which is Claim It. These were lovely blushes in this collection. I think in my last declutter, the 2 darker shades I almost parted ways with, but I ended up keeping them. I believe I said in that video that they were going to be maybes for me. I'm glad that I ended up keeping them because they really are pretty. And I love that packaging with those angel wings on the front. I just think it's so pretty. And then lastly for ColourPop, I have this one, which is in the shade Message Me. And this is the deepest from that collection. Well, that was not the best swatch, but you can at least see the shades all together. And then all of the ColourPop swatches right there, just so pretty. Okay, next up are my CoverGirl blushes. I have 6 of the cheekers. I used to have every single shade, but I ended up decluttering some of them. They are probably the oldest blushes in my collection, so some of them just didn't perform the way they used to do, so I did get rid of a lot of them. However, these were the 6 shades that I kept. I just, thought these were really pretty. I know out of at least one of them has been discontinued. I'm not sure about the rest of them, but I just feel like they're pretty good options from the drugstore. Now, mine might not be the greatest test of that since, like I said, these are very old blushes in my collection. These are probably some of the first ones that I ever started collecting. Now, the first one here is in Pink Candy. So I'm hoping I can get some good swatches out of these. I'm going to try my best. But it's probably not going to be the greatest swatches because they're just... Let me see if I can build that up a little bit. I've had these a long time, but hopefully you can still see like the shade. It's a really soft pink. Then the next one I have is Rose Silk. I'm trying to make sure I pick up enough product. But this is a light shade. This is definitely light, which you can see. But it's very pretty. Well, I don't want to say, I don't know if metallic is the right word, but you can kind of see how it looks kind of like a highlighter mixed in as well. Then we have the shade Classic Pink. This is a really pretty shade. Just a little bit deeper than this shade. A little bit more of that highlighter effect too. Then we have Natural Twinkle. See, some of these like this, I'm not sure if all the shades are still available. But these are sold at Walmart, so definitely check there. They're probably available, well, maybe on Amazon. I'm not sure about that though. So you just have to, if there was a shade that you wanted to try, your best bet might be Walmart. Then we have Natural Shimmer. It's a pretty shade. Almost like a soft berry shade. It's pretty. And then we have Bordeaux Burgundy, which is a discontinued shade. You can't get this shade now. I know that for a fact, but you can still find it somewhere online, maybe. I'm not exactly sure. I always thought it was just a really pretty shade. Just like a more of a, well, it looks similar to this, but it's just a touch deeper than this shade. But I always thought it was so pretty, and it's sad that they don't make it anymore because I thought it was stunning. And then I have one of these CoverGirl True Blend blushes, and this one is in the shade Love Me. I think these are really pretty. You can see how it kind of got that sort of highlighter effect in the formula. And that's a really pretty shade. I'm not sure if these are still available either. I know that the CoverGirl section in my Walmart has been just completely revamped, and CoverGirl's been changing up their packaging, so I don't even know if this blush is still available. Then I had one of these little classic color blushes, and this one was in Soft Mink. I can't never open this the right way. Okay, there we go. This is a really pretty blush. It's one of those that I feel is a shade that'll go with everything. As you can see right here, it's like a perfect, just neutral shade. And it's very stunning. I'm not sure if they still make these, but this is a beautiful shade. If they still make this one, I would definitely recommend it to anyone who was looking for a shade like that. Well, next would be E, because I didn't have any powder blushes for the letter D, so I have 2 from e.l.f. Cosmetics here in the powder section, and then I have some from Essence as well. So these right here are just like these little powder blushes, and this one is in Blushing or Blush. I think these are still available. I believe you can still purchase these, and I think they've added some new shades. I might be wrong about that though. This is definitely like a very soft shade, as you can see. Not a ton of pigment to this one, but if you can build it up a little bit. Of course, now I know that my ring light is probably washing some of this out, but I kind of need my ring light. Where I'm filming this, I need my ring light this time. I don't have natural lighting right now. Then we have the other one, which is the shade Bright Pink. I'd like to see some of the other shades. I believe I think this is the line they expanded. I might be completely wrong about that, but these are just really smooth blushes. Like, I've never had an issue with them on the cheeks. Really pretty. And then I have a few here from Essence. Now some of these I believe have been discontinued. I'm not sure about the ones called the blush, but I believe the Mosaic one and the blush lighter one have been discontinued. But you can definitely still get these. I'd love to have more shades in this line. This is an excellent line from Essence. So from the blush line, I have the shade Beloved. These were always really nice blushes. I did have all of them at one time, but I did end up decluttering some of them, but they are really lovely. They're just super soft, have a really pretty decent pigment to them. And then I had this one, which is the shade Befitting. This is really pretty, like a soft berry shade almost, like a really, like on the lighter side of a berry. And then I have one of the Mosaic blushes, and this one is in All You Need Is Pink. I believe this is one that has been sadly discontinued. I believe there were only like 2 options in this blush too. Like I don't think there was many options. But it was a very soft shade, but really pretty. And I had one of their blush lighters, and this one was in Cassis Sunburst. Now this is one that I just like to mix the two together. So you really can't see the gradient as much as you used to, since I just kind of swirl them together. But it's really pretty shade. I want to say these have also been discontinued. I'm not sure about that, but I believe they have. Okay, then we have one of the Pure Nude Baked Blushes, and this one was in Shimmery Rose. This is a really pretty soft shade. If you have very fair skin, this is probably one that you would love. As you can see, but it's so pretty. And then I have the shade Pretty Peach. I just think these are just lovely from Essence. These are some of the best blushes, and they're fairly affordable as well. And then we have the shade Bold Heart. Just like a really beautiful rosy color. Just so stunning. Okay, for the next few letters, I only have one each. So for F, I have one blush right here from Fenty Beauty. This is one of the new blushes that she just released. This is one of the suede powder blushes in Bacon Cakes. I just recently did a video where I featured this blush. It's very pretty. Just really smoothing. It feels like almost like a cream, but I don't believe it's a cream to powder. I think it's just powder, but it's a really smooth formula. Okay, an H in the powder. I only have this one right here from House Labs, and you can't get this one anymore. This was a limited edition blush that I did for a collection. This is the Tutti Gel Powder All Over Rouge. This was a cheek and lip color, and this one is in the shade Rossini. This was from their Casa Gaga collection that they had, and this was just really pretty. There were some other shades, but I never got them, and then eventually you couldn't purchase them anymore on Amazon, but I wish I had gotten more of them because it really was a pretty formula. Such a pretty shade. Only one little blush for the eyes as well, and this is from Ioni. This is a brand that you can purchase at Dollar Tree. This is one of their little blushes here in Stellar Pink. And these little magnets in this are not the best, so you kind of have to press something like on this, like maybe place a blush palette or something on top to make sure the magnet stays. But once you do that, I haven't had any more issues. But for $1.25, I really can't sit here and complain that much. And this is like a more bubblegummy pink shade. Really pretty. They have other shades. This is the only one that I ended up keeping. I had a couple of the others, but now the outside packaging sometimes changes based on like collections they launch, but the shades are pretty much about the same. Like if you have this shade like Stellar Pink in this packaging, more than likely you can find the same shade in a different packaging as well. But it's a lovely shade. And then one Lone J as well. This is from Jouer. This is one of their, what is this called? Their blush duos. And we have the shade Adore Me and Hold Me, which they look like this. This is just really pretty. Just really soft blushes. I don't really hear much about this brand. I don't know if they're still really popular with people. But I believe this was on sale one time on the Sephora app, and I picked it up because I just thought they were really pretty, and they are. Just really stunning shades. I haven't picked this palette up in a while and used it, but it's really pretty. Okay, I have 3 of these Kosas Baked Blushes, which I want all the shades in this line. I think this is one incredible line of blushes. So the first one we have here is the shade Euphoria, and these have those beautiful marble tones to it. These are gorgeous. I mean, look at that. So pretty, so smooth. If you love baked blushes, these are nice options. And then we have Blush is Life, which looks like this. Very pretty. I'm just kind of swirling like all the way around, like different ways. Just gorgeous, gorgeous shades. And then we have the shade Swoon. This is a gorgeous shade too. I mean, these are all pretty. I can't say it enough. Just look at those shades. So beautiful. I want them all. I know I shouldn't, but I want them all. They're that pretty. Okay, I have 3 blushes from Kylie Cosmetics. I'm not sure if these are still available. I haven't bought from this brand in a very long time. I've had these shades for a while, so I'm not even sure if they're still available. But the first one we have here is Pink Power. Pink Power was always one of my most favorite blushes. I just thought this was a lovely shade. Just a really pretty pink shade. These are very powdery, so I mean, you know, be mindful of that because, well, you can see kind of in the pan, but that doesn't bother me per se, but I just wanted to mention it. But I find that these are just really softly pressed, and then I have the shade Crush, which looks like this. So I'm not going to swipe so aggressively on this one. I have like a pretty peachy shade. And then we have the shade Winter Kiss, which I got them mixed up. I thought that first shade was the one I was thinking, but no, this is the one that I would say would be my favorite out of the 3. I got the shades mixed up, but this would definitely be my favorite. It's like a really pretty cool tone pink, very lovely shade. It's beautiful on the cheeks. Really pretty. Next we have LA Colors. Now these 2 right here, I'm not going to swatch. The reason why is because these are the exact same shade as these. This is the older packaging, and this is the packaging you can buy now at Dollar Tree. So I'm just going to move these over and out the way because it's the same exact shades. So we have 3 here from LA Colors, and these are just called Blush, and you can find them at Dollar Tree. This one's called Pink Blush. I kept the shades in both the new and old packaging, but it's the same shades, both of them. Now, this is a very soft blush. I don't even know if you can be able to see that. Let me try to build it up a little bit. This is soft, soft, soft. Now, I find that you can build it up a little bit easier on the cheeks. Now, this is one that would definitely be for super fair skin because you can see it's just very light. Now, my hand is a little stained from all the blushes, but you can still see it's just a very light fair shade. Also, I don't know why my veins stick up like that. That's alarming. Okay, and then the other shade I have is the shade Toast. I just love that name, just Toast. It's not toasty, just toast. I don't know, I just thought that was just super cute. And this one has a little bit more pigment to it than the first one. This one has some sparkle in it, like some rogue little glitter pieces. Some of these are more on the matte side, whereas this first one I swatched was matte, and this one has some glitter in it, just be mindful of that. But I think for $1.25, they're decent enough. Then I had 1 shade of the ombre blush, and this one is in Sunset Chic. Honestly, I think this might have been the only shade. I don't know if I've ever seen another shade in this. And it's just like more of a peachy, pinky kind of shade, but it's very pretty. Then my last 2 L's, I have one from Laura Geller and then a mini blush from Lottie London. So let's start with Laura Geller. And this is one of the Baked Blush in Brighton, and this is in Tropic Hues. These are really nice blushes from Laura Geller, but always, always, always buy her products during a sale. She has sales always on her website. Never pay full price for her brand. Just a really pretty shade. And then I had one of these teeny little mini sizes. This is called the Ombre Blush in the shade Exposed. This is just a little mini. I believe the mini sizes were in like a set one time that you could buy on Walmart. I'm not sure if that set is still available, but that's where this little mini came from. It's a really pretty blush. It's very smooth, very pigmented. Okay, I have Milani here. I have a few of their baked blushes as well as some of their little flower powder blushes. So let's get started on this top row. Now this first baked one is Dolce Pink. Now this is the old packaging. They don't make them in this now. They come in a packaging like this. So that should tell you just how old this one is. But this has always been such a beautiful shade. I would like to maybe purchase the new packaging, but as long as this one continues working, I'm not opposed to keeping it, but I think that because how old it is, it would be better to get the newer one, especially because this feels kind of, I don't know if hard pan is the right word because it's baked. Can baked get hard pan? I'm not sure, but it's a pretty shade. Maybe I should update the packaging. Then we have Luminoso, which is definitely an iconic shade for this. Yes, see, this one feels so much softer. That other one feels like it's probably already hard pan, so I might have to end up parting ways with that one, but I would love to repurchase it and have it in my collection, but this one definitely feels a lot softer. You can kind of see how that one on the top is doing, so yeah, I might have to end up parting ways with that one. Then we have Petal Primavera. Yeah, these feel much softer. These are just pretty blushes at the drugstore. I think Milani can really do blushes. Their blushes are so pretty. I still have yet to try like their cream blushes, and I really want to. I've heard good things about those as well. Okay, wait a minute. I have Dolce Pink right here in the new formula. I didn't even know I had this. Now that is just sad that I didn't even know that I had this one. So, okay. If that's the case, then this original packaging, I think I'm going to declutter that one since I have the shade right here. Oh yes, I can definitely tell that it performs way better. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that other one and just keep the newer packaging. I did not realize it was the same because look at that versus this. So yeah. And this one right here is one of my most favorite blushes of all time. This is the Rose Powder Blush in Romantic Rose. I love this blush so much. In fact, this is a second one of this one. I have absolutely repurchased this blush. This is just a pretty soft neutral shade. It is just perfect if you have fair skin. It's soft, it's delicate. It's one of those that go with every look you can possibly create. Love this one so very much. In fact, this particular shade would probably be in my top 10 blushes. That's how much I love this one. Okay, next we have Blossom Time Rose. These blushes are pretty. I almost hate swatching them because it does kind of mess up the flower a little bit. But they're really pretty blushes. I've had these for a very long time too, but they continue to feel just soft and smooth. I don't feel hard pan in any of them. Then we have Tea Rose. I'm not sure if I have all of them. I don't know how many there are, but they're really lovely. To me, they're just classic blushes. They're not, gimmicky. They don't have anything that's supposed to be unique about them, like trying to be more than they are. They're just solid standard blushes. And then we have Coral Cove. This is a bright blush here. I don't really use this one a lot. I think it's beautiful, but I don't really reach for it. But this would have been a perfect one to use during the summertime. Okay, we have Wild Rose. These are just so pretty. I believe Flower Beauty also has blushes like this where they have the flower, like the pan is like a flower. Honestly, these top three look the same on camera, but they definitely look a little bit different in person, but this one will always be my favorite. I just have two here for the letter N. I have one from Natasha Denona and one from NYX. Now, this one is actually almost like a little face palette. This is the My Mini Dream Glow Blush, but as you can see, there's a highlighter and then two blush shades, so I'm going to swatch them separately. They're very pretty. Usually when I use this though, I mix them all together, but I wanted to swatch them individually so you can see all of the shades. Then I have one shade of the NYX Buttermelt blushes, and this one is in the shade Getting Butter. These are really lovely blushes, and they're very pigmented too. So if you love blushes that have a lot of pigment, you would love these. Really beautiful. Okay, I have one for the letter O, and that is from One Size. These are really nice. This is the Cheek Clapper 3D Blush Trio, and this one is in Attention Seeker, which was like the pretty little pink. Now this one has a cream blush as well. So let me swatch that too. And then we have like a more matte powder and then like this really sparkly topper shade. These are really nice and very pigmented, as you can see. Really beautiful. This is the only one I have, but I'd love to look at some of the other shades, like maybe one on the more neutral side, but this is lovely. Then I have 3 shades of the Patrick Ta blushes. Now these are like cream and a powder, but I'm just going to put them in the powder since there is a powder option in here. Now I also have his 3 holiday blush palettes, but I'm going to be swatching those in the palette portion. The first one we have here is in the shade Not Too Much. This one would be my absolute favorite because this is much more lighter. It's easier to work with because his blushes are very pigmented. So there we have the cream and then the powder. Of course, now don't let that fool you. These are still pack a pretty big punch on the cheeks, but this one is a little bit more on the lighter side. You don't have to be as careful as some of the other shades in his line. Then I have She's the Moment, which is this pretty little pop of orangey kind of shade. These were some of the new ones that released for the springtime, and these are very pretty. So we have the cream and the powder. I mean, just lovely. He has a few other shades in his line that I would love to pick up because these are really nice. Then we have the shade Just Enough, which this is that pretty little pop of bubblegum pink that so many people love. I don't know if this shade is as popular as it once was. And there's the cream side and the powder. And then there are the shades I have in his individual compacts. And then the last blush I have for the letter P is this one from Physicians Formula. This is the Butter Buddies blush in Miss Butterfly. The packaging is darling. And this is a pretty shade. It's a little powdery, but this is such a soft blush, but it's so pretty. Look at that pretty pinky peachy shade. Just so lovely. I'm not sure if you can still get this one. It was limited edition, but if it's still available, I think it's nice. Okay, here are all of my R blushes. So we'll start with this one right here from Rare Beauty. This is one of their new blushes in the shade Cheer. Honestly, this is not my favorite. I was actually hoping that this brand would have done regular powder, not this kind of basically highlighter kind of thing. I just wasn't impressed with these. I don't think they're bad per se. I just was hoping they would have been more like a powder like this, like a regular powder, not so much this kind of formula. So I'm glad that I only ended up ever purchasing one shade because they're just not my favorite. Then I have one blush from REM Beauty, and this one is in the shade Skinny Dipped. This is a really nice blush. See, this kind of blush like this is what I was hoping the Rare Beauty ones would be, like just a plain powder blush, not that highlighter stuff. So this is a pretty shade. I swatched a lot of the REM Beauty blushes in store and all of the shades were really beautiful, but this is the one that I picked first, but very pretty. Then I have one of the Maxi blushes from Rimmel. This one is in Third Base. This is the one that I said was really close to my beloved Becca Flower Child blush. It just reminds me so much of that shade. I mean, it's about the closest I've ever been able to find to like being the exact same. And it's just really lovely shade. And then I have one blush from RMS Beauty. This is in the shade Maiden's Blush, and this is their Redimension Hydra Powder blushes. This is a gorgeous shade. I would love to get some of the other shades in this line because look how pretty that is. There's just something about it that's so stunning. I don't know what it is, but it's beautiful. Okay, we're moving right along to the letter T. I didn't have any for the letter S, so I have all of these right here from Tarte. The top row were from a little holiday set they had like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, so they're just little mini sizes. And this first one here is in the shade Captivating. One of these shades I want to say was a limited edition shade for this set, and then the rest I believe you can purchase in their permanent line. I'm not sure exactly which shade it is, but these are really pretty. Then we have the shade Charmed, which looks like this. Very soft, light shade. Really pretty. Then we have the shade Exposed, which I know this one for sure is in their permanent line because I hear a lot of people talk about this blush. Or I used to. I don't really hear it so much now, but this used to be a pretty popular shade. I can ignore that. I was stained from that RMS Beauty blush, so let me cover that. Then we have the shade Delight. And that's a really beautiful shade. These are just such pretty shades. Then I had one of their blushes like this. This one was in the shade Energy. I believe this was a limited edition shade. I'm not sure if it's still available. They might have ended up keeping it. But it's that pop of bubblegum pink. I believe that's when they released it, when that shade was really having a moment all over social media. And it's a really pretty shade. I mean, these blushes from Tarte are so nice. Then we had another limited edition one. This one was in the shade Bloom. They released this one along the same time that they released that really large Bloom palette. And this was another really pretty shade. I mean, just look at all these shades from Tarte. They're beautiful. Then I have 4 shades of these little blushes from Too Faced, and these are lovely. I think there are 2 more shades in this line. I would love to pick those up too. I just haven't done so yet, but these are nice. These are their Cloud Crush Blurring Blushes, and this one is in Candy Clouds. This is that pink shade that's super popular, or was. It might not be that popular now. These are nice blushes. Really beautiful. Then we have Tequila Sunset, and I love the packaging on these and the little heart. And they have a very sweet scent to them, like they are scented, but it's not like an obnoxious scent. It's more just like a really soft, sweet scent. Then we have Velvet Crush. Which, ooh, look how pretty. It's so pretty. These are just beautiful shades. Then we have Head in the Clouds. This one might honestly be my favorite out of the 4 that I have. I just think that's such a pretty shade. They're all beautiful though, but there is something really special about that shade to me. And then last but certainly not least, I have my Wet n Wild blushes. These are the last ones in the powder category. Now the top 3 were limited edition, except this shade right here is Pearlescent Pink. That shade is a permanent shade, but the packaging was limited edition, but you can still buy Pearlescent Pink. This was the packaging they released from a Valentine's Day set like years ago. But if this was a shade you like, you can still purchase this shade. This is from their Fantasy Makers collection, which is the collection they release around Halloween. This one was Exit Stage Left. This is no longer available, but I kept it because I thought the shade was really beautiful. It's kind of like a shade that I really love, that I gravitate towards a lot. This is another one that was from the Fantasy Makers. Now this one is Ferris Wheel Fantasy, which this is basically like a highlighter, but there's something about it that I really like. So I never actually ended up parting with it, but you can see it's basically a highlighter. Even though they call it a blush, it's a highlighter. But I thought it was pretty, so I ended up keeping it. And part of that could be the name. I love the name Ferris Wheel Fantasy. I just think that's so cute. Then we have the shade Pinch Me Pink. It's really pretty. Pretty little pop of pink there. Then we have the shade Naked Brown. This is a new shade. They just released this one this year. And if you love more of a bronzy blush, then you would love this one. I used not to, but I think this shade is really pretty. And this one was another blush from this year. This is Bed of Roses. And that's a really pretty shade. I think Wet n Wild makes really pretty blushes, and they're super affordable. These are not, I can't remember how much these cost, but they are not a lot. And they're really stunning. Okay, we've moved on now to the creams and liquids, so we're going to start with the letter C. Now the first two I have here are from Charlotte Tilbury. This first thing here is the Lip and Cheek Glow, Love and Light Lip and Cheek Glow, and this one is in Color of Passion. This is gorgeous. I mean, there's just no other way around it. This is a beautiful shade, and I think there are like 4 or 5 shades in this. I'd like to look at some of the other ones. Look at that shade. It's so pretty. I mean, that's a horrible swatch, but I was trying to also kind of blend it out while I'm swatching. And don't let that fool you. If you are someone with fair skin, don't let this fool you. You can go in with a small amount of it and it blends out really beautifully. That's a bad swatch. I was trying to also blend it out a little bit, but it's a beautiful shade. Then I have a little mini here of the Beauty Light Wand blush, and this one is in Pillow Talk. Might can swatch this without squeezing out any. Yeah. I am not a fan of these little plushy applicators, but this is a really beautiful shade. It kind of reminds me of this, but I believe this Color of Passion shade is Pillow Talk. Like, I believe she calls it Pillow Talk Color of Passion. But it's a really pretty shade. Then next I have 3 blush sticks from Colorspell Cosmetics. These were sent to me in PR. This is Profusion's sister brand that is sold at Dollar General. Everything is less than $6. These are the Hydrating Lip and Cheek Stick, and this one is in the shade Halo. These are really nice, and they're actually really nice on the lips too. I didn't think they would be, because usually, well, could pick it up the stick a little more here. But products that are said they can be used on your lips and your cheeks, usually I prefer them on the cheeks because most of the time they're very drying on the lips, but I found that not to be the case with these. They're pretty nice. Out of all the stuff that they sent me to try, these would be my favorites. Then we have the shade Nova. See, we're getting much more pigmented here. And then we have the shade Collision, which honestly, this ended up being my favorite out of the 3. And I figured that this shade would be, but I really love that shade right there. That is so pretty. Then the last 3 I have here for the letter C are from CoverGirl. These are their All Over Dewy Tints. I love these. You can put these on your eyes, cheeks, and lips. Now, I love them on the eyes and the cheeks, not on the lips. To me, they were very drying on the lips. Now, they do crease on the eyes. I'm just going to go ahead and say that, but there's something about them that I don't really mind that when that does that. Now, this first one here is in the shade Toasty Nude. And these are like in the little squeezy bottles here. Honestly, I think they have like 8 or 9 of these shades, and I would love to have more. I love them. They're very lightweight. They're just so easy to apply. I just think they're one of those easy products that if you need to get out of the door quick, these are perfect. And next I have the shade Fuchsia Passion. I didn't squeeze out as much of this one, but you can at least see the shade. Very pretty. It looks more orangey on my viewfinder here, but it looks more like almost like a watermelon-y color in person, but it looks more orange from what I can see. And then I have the shade Mauve Kiss, or Mauve, however you say that word. I know, depending on where you're from, I've heard people say mauve, and then I've heard some people say mauve. And just so pretty. Pretty, pretty, pretty. You do really need to kind of shake these a little bit first. I didn't really shake that one enough before I squeezed them out, so it's a little watery looking, but definitely shake these up a little bit before you use them. Okay, olive for my letter E here are e.l.f. Cosmetics. I love e.l.f. I think that if I could only use one drugstore brand for the rest of my life, I would be so fine with it being e.l.f. Cosmetics. So I have all of the little Halo Glow beauty wands here that they have. I think these were like their version of the Charlotte Tilbury ones. The difference between these is I ripped off the little sponge. So the first one here is Candlelit, and as you can see, I ripped off the sponge to make these like a squeezy tube because I can't with the sponge tips. I hate those. I wish we'd get away from that and just have regular doe foot applicators, or even the little needle nose application. I prefer that over that sponge because ugh. Okay, then I have the shade Yugo Cocoa. I think this was one of the newer ones. Now, I will say about these, they're one of these formulas where I feel like sometimes they work for me and then other times I struggle with them. I don't know why. It could be they just clash sometimes with the products underneath, but they look so beautiful. Sometimes they can look amazing on the cheeks. And then sometimes they look a little patchy or they look a little weird. I don't know. So it just depends. But I still like them. I still want them in my collection. I want to get more use out of them. Then we have the shade Berry Radiant. Like, you can just see how much pigment these have. I mean, look at the pigment on these. Now, you can definitely shear them out on the cheeks, but I mean, if you want to build them up, I mean, look at that. Then I have Rosé You Slay. I'm trying to be so careful not to squeeze out, too much. But they're beautiful. I mean, they're so pretty. Shiny. Then we have the shade Magic Hour. This is definitely more of like a bronzy shade, at least on my skin tone, but very pretty. Or it could even be a highlighter for someone with a deeper complexion if you didn't want to use it as a blush. And then we have Pink Me Up. I mean, look how pretty they are. Like, they're so shiny and glossy looking. In swatches, they're lovely. Okay, next are the Camo liquid blushes here. I have 3 shades of these, and there is one more shade that I want because it's a pretty berry shade. And this first one here is, okay, I can never read the bottom of this. Let me see. Okay, this is Dusty Rosé. Oh gosh, get it open. And these have like the doe foot applicator. Ooh, such a pretty, pretty shade. And these are lovely. These were definitely their response to the Rare Beauty blushes for sure. This one is Peach Perfect. This would definitely be my favorite. This one reminds me of Rare Beauty's Bliss, which is my favorite from the Rare Beauty line. So pretty. And then the last one I have is Suave Mauve or Mauve. Which that's a pretty shade too. Then I have one shade in the Luminous Putty Blush, and this one is in the shade Maui, which is my absolute favorite. I've decluttered all the other putty blushes I had and just kept this one, and I don't know, I just, look at this shade. I love that. That's just perfect. It goes with everything. One of those soft everyday shades. Love it so much. Then I have one of these monochromatic multi-sticks from e.l.f. Now, I haven't used this on camera yet. This one is in Luminous Berry. These you can use on your eyes, cheeks, or lips. I had one of these a long time ago, but it was in a peachy shade. But I picked up the berry shade and oh, isn't that such a pretty color? I can't wait to use this. Okay, I have one little lonely liquid blush for the letter F. This is from Frank Beauty. These are one of their little cheek slimes and this one is in the shade Cuffed. This is so pretty and these are so pigmented. I used to have a shade a long time ago. Well, if I can squeeze it out, there we go. And it was called Fever Dream. So you can see, look how much pigment that is from that one little dot. These are beautiful. I don't know if they still make Fever Dream, but that was a orange blush. So if you were into that color, maybe they'll bring Fever Dream back, but I had to have at least one of these because I always remembered loving them. The only difference they did was they made these little bottles smaller, but that to me doesn't matter because you see just that teeny little dot and look at the pigment. You don't need much of these at all. And I only have 2 here for the letter H. I have the first one here is from House Labs. This is one of the Color Fuse Glassy blushes, and this one is in Glassy Pomelo. These are beautiful. I want more shades in this. I just haven't picked any up, but I would love to have more. Look how just so pretty. Glossy is the perfect word for these. They're very balmy, which I personally love because they're very hydrating on the cheeks. And then this last one for the letter H is from Honest Beauty. This is one of their Creme Cheek and Lip Color, and this one is in Rose Pink. I have not used this one in a while. It always feels dried out at first, but once you start swatching it again, it just goes right back to normal. I just think this is pretty shade. It's another one that's kind of like an everyday kind of shade that goes with anything. It's really pretty. I have one blush here for the letter L, and this is from Lawless. This is their Pinch My Cheeks Soft Blur Cream Blush, and this one's in the shade Angel. This is gorgeous. This is a beautiful shade. It's another one of those that's kind of like a perfect everyday kind of shade. As you can see, Just so pretty. I'd like to look at some of the other shades too in this line, but for now I'm content with this shade. Okay, for the letter M, I have 4 different options here. Well, 2 are from Merit, and these are their little flush bombs. I think that's what these are called. Yeah, flush bombs. This one is in the shade Stockholm. These are beautiful. Some of my favorite cream blushes. They're just so easy to work with. That's what I love about these, and I just love the little packaging. Just so pretty. And then I have the shade Cheeky. I would definitely, if you're looking for just a nice, easy to work with cream blush, I would definitely recommend these from Merit. They're just so lovely. Then I have one liquid blush from the brand Metamorphosis. This is an animal-themed indie brand, and this one is in the shade Magia, I believe is how you say this. And this is a really pretty shade as well. These are nice blushes too. They have a whole line of these as well. Like if this isn't kind of the shade you would like, they make, I think, 9 or 10 different shades. They're very pretty. And then last but not least, in the letter M category, I have this Cheek Kiss blush stick from Milani. This is the Luminoso shade. Oh, this is beautiful. In fact, I had a whole video just surrounded this little blush stick because I could scoot it up a little more here. There we go. Because it's just so pretty. And then you can always top the powder option over the top, but that shade is everything. I honestly think I like this, the cream one, better than I do the powder one. Then I have one lone one for the letter P. This is from Physicians Formula. This is one of their Diamond Filler Mineral Wear cheek and lip color, and this one is in the shade Brilliant Peach. I believe there is only 2 shades in this. I don't believe I ever tried this on the lips, but the color is stunning. I'm not sure what the other color is. It might be more of a rosy tone, but on the cheeks, this is really nice. Okay, for the letter R, I have Rare Beauty, Refi, and Rose Ink. So let's start with Rare Beauty. I have one of these little, I can't think of what these are called, melting blushes, and this one is in the shade Nearly Berry. The berry tones just kind of get me at this point. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I really love the berry tones lately. I don't know. It's just so pretty. Okay, and then I have 4 here of the liquid blushes. I used to have all of them, but I narrowed them down to just these few. Now, this one right here is my absolute favorite. This one is Bliss, and as you can see, I'm scraping the inside of this. In fact, I had to take the stopper out, but I think that it's kind of drying out now. And yeah, look, I can't even, it's drying out. I can't even hardly get the swatch to work that much, but this was always one of my favorite shades, but I'm probably going to have to end up decluttering this. I see where she's bringing out minis, like selling the minis of these now. I'm not sure if the shade Bliss is one of the minis, but if it is, I'd like to pick this back up because this is dried out basically. So I'm going to have to declutter this one, unfortunately, but at least I could get enough for you to see the shade. It's my favorite. Then I had a mini of the shade Hope. Which is so pretty. And then I have a mini of the shade Happy. See, these blushes like this, I like these from Rare Beauty better than I do the more powder option. I just think these blushes are beautiful. Like top of the line liquid blushes. Then I have the full size of the shade Faith, which is like a berry shade. But it looks purple. Like almost like a purpley shade, but on the cheeks, when you shear this out, it is gorgeous. Then I have one of the cream blushes from Refi. This one is in the shade Rose. This is one of my favorite cream blushes as well. This is another shade that is just, I feel like, perfect for every day. I just love it. It's stunning. I know they released 2 new shades for the summertime, and those are pretty too. Then I have one from Rose Ink. These are their lip and cheek colors. This one is in the shade Delphine. The only thing I don't like about this is how thick it is. Like, look at that. It just looks a little, I don't want to say chunky, because that's not the right word, but it feels chunky. But the shade is beautiful. Like, that's stunning. but it's not my favorite formula. I mean, you know, it's decent. It's just not my favorite. Then I have two for the letter S, and both of them are from Say Beauty. I really love this brand. I think they make some really amazing products. This is one of their dew blushes in the shade Chili, which I think is probably one of their more popular shades, and it is a really pretty blush. This next one is one of their glow sculpt kind of blushes, and this one is in Peach Glow, which these are nice. I don't really hear much about these, but they are really pretty. Or at least this shade is. I'm not sure what the other shades might be, but this shade's pretty. A really pretty peachy coral shade. This would have been perfect for the summertime too. Okay, I have two for the letter T. I have one from Tarte and then one from Tower 28. This first one is from Tarte. This is the Man-Eater Blush and Glow Cheek Plump, and this one is in the shade Buff, I believe. Let's see. Yes, the shade Buff. I love this shade so much. It's the most perfect shade. Look at that. Oh, I've never seen something more stunning. Well, I mean, I'm obsessed with blush anyway, but that shade is so beautiful. And does it not just make you want fall to come? Because it just kind of looks like a pretty fall shade. Then I have this one from Tower 28. This is one of their Beach Please blushes, and this one is in Magic Hour. I love Tower 28. I've said it over and over and over. As many of you that maybe watch or have seen some of my videos in the past, you will probably know just how much I talk about this brand. It's a lot, and I love them. I mean every word. I just think that's so pretty. And then last but certainly not least in the cream and liquid blushes, I have the letter W. I have one from Wet n Wild and then one from Win Beauty. So the Wet n Wild one is their, I think, what are these called? Mega Glow blush stick, and this one's in Peach Bums. I believe this is the one that's supposed to be like kind of like a shade dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury one. And it is really pretty. I think it's a nice affordable option if you were wanting kind of that similar look but didn't want to pay the price. I think this is a good option to have. And I think they launched some new shades in this. I'm not sure, but it's really pretty. And I have had mine for a very long time, and it is still just as creamy as the day I bought it. Then last, I have this one from Win Beauty. Now, I never get the name right. Let me see. This is one of their MVP Most Versatile Pigments. And I think you can use this for the cheek and lips, and this one is in the shade Soar, like S-O-A-R. And this is lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. The shade is lovely, and they're nice on the lips too, but now when I wear them on the lips, I like to take a brush and kind of like just shear it out on the lips, but it's such a pretty shade. Now, the last thing are my blush palettes. So the first one I have here is from Laura Geller. This was from the Wheel of Fortune collection. You had 5 beautiful blushes in here. I just thought this was kind of a cute little collection. I don't know. Let's just swatch around the wheel, and then I'll come back and swatch the shade in the middle. I know these are not the greatest swatches, and I'm sorry, especially not the pinky one, but they're so pretty. They're pretty shades. Okay, and then we'll swatch the middle one, which is definitely more like a blush topper shade, kind of. It kind of looks like a deeper highlighter shade, but I don't know, I just thought it was a cute little palette. It was different and unique. Not that I know of, I've never seen a brand collab with Wheel of Fortune, so I thought it was just kind of a neat little collab. Okay, the next blush palette is from Melt. This palette is gorgeous. I never use it, and it's sad, but sometimes I don't even want to touch it because how pretty it is. This is the, okay, Monarcha, I believe is how you say that, blush palette. I mean, are we seeing this? Okay, I'm trying to show you the mirror without being like weird reflective, but look at the butterflies on the top of the mirror. This palette is so gorgeous. I hate even touching it because see, it messes up the embossing. I hate touching it. It's so pretty. Now that shade is very soft. You have kind of like, look how beautiful they are, but I don't even want to touch this palette. And I know that's dumb, but it's just so pretty. And I hate that every time I swatch it, it just ruins the embossing. Okay, swatch the bottom row here. I'm trying not to rub as much in these because I hate that the pretty butterfly are going away. But look at this. This is so beautiful. Okay, and the last three I have are from Patrick Todd. These are his holiday palettes, and I love these palettes. I don't use them as much as I should, but they are beautiful palettes. If he has another one this year, I definitely will be picking it up. But this first one here is the first year that he did this. So we have She's a Doll, She's Vibrant, and She's Baked, which you can buy these individually. It's the cream, and then the powder. Beautiful. And then we'll do this next one here in the middle. There's the cream and the powder, which I put that one too far away, but it's okay. And then the last one here, which I believe this one is She's Baked. We have the cream and the powder. Beautiful palette, beautiful blush palette. And I like that you can buy these individually now too. So if you didn't get this palette, you still have the option to pick them up individually if there's one shade you like more than the other. Okay, then we had the second year's palette, which is, this is the Major Headlines Blush Palette Volume 2. We had Giving Flirty, Giving Sunkissed, and then Giving Glossy. This one had a highlighter duo in it. So we have the cream, and then we had the powder. It's very pretty. I don't think this one was as well liked as the first year, but I liked it. I had nothing against it. Okay, let's swatch the middle one here. And I'll swatch the highlighter for you too. The only thing that I noticed differently about this palette was that the blushes, the powder blushes, seemed to be more on the powdery side. Like they had a lot of kick up versus the other palettes. But that never really bothers me. I just like to be a little bit more gentle when I use it, but I still thought it was very pretty. And since it's in here, I'll swatch the highlighter too. Which I don't know if you'll be able to even see the cream side, simply because it's really just kind of like a clear, basically. But you can see it a little bit. Then we had last year's palette, which was the Major Holiday Face Palette. This had the 2 blush duos, and then 4 little sparkly shimmery eyeshadows. This was definitely, like, pinks were really popular last year, and then like these little sparkly toppers were really popular. So this palette, it was really hard to get my hands on this palette. It was a struggle. So let's swatch the cream. So that's the cream, which is very soft. And then the blush. And then we'll swatch the deeper of the 2 pinks. There's the cream and the powder. And since they're in here, I'll swatch the 4 little topper shades. If you like these kind of shades, I felt like these were nice. Oh, well, that one was far down, but you can still see them. They're very pretty, very sparkly. Let me kind of smooth that one out. It feels like some of that cream was left from the last palette. So there we go, smooth that one out a little bit more. It was wanting to stick. Okay, I've put these little containers in this drawer, but right quick before I reorganize, I'm going to show a few blushes that I've decided to declutter, or there is one that I have to unfortunately discard simply because it's dried out now. The first ones are these 2 right here from LA Colors. This is the old packaging, and I have these shades in the new packaging, so there is no reason for me to hold on to the 2 of these, so they're going to be going. That's the same thing with this Milani Dolce Pink. I already have the new packaging with this, so I'm just going to be going ahead and letting this one go. This little mini of Bliss from Rare Beauty, it's time to let this one go. It's dried out, and I've used it a ton. As you can see that I had to start scraping the sides. I had taken the stopper out, but it's dried out now, so it's time for this one to be tossed. I am actually going to go ahead and let go of this one from Ioni. This is a pretty shade, and there's nothing wrong with it at all, but I definitely think this brand shines the most in their false eyelashes, so if you are someone who wanted some really affordable false eyelashes, I think they are definitely a brand to go to. I'm not as attached to their makeup side of things, so I'm going to go ahead and pass this one on. And I am going to part with 2 of the Kylie Cosmetics shades. This is just not a brand that I'm really that interested in purchasing from, but I've had these for a very long time, so there's nothing I can do about it now, but I'm going to pass these on. I am going to keep the Winter Kissed shade. This one is the Pink Power shade, which is pretty, but you know, and then the other one was the shade Crush. I don't ever use them, and if I'm going to use a blush from this brand, I probably would use Winter Kiss. I think that's a really beautiful option, and I already have the blush. It's already in my collection. I already bought it, so I'm going to keep that one. I'm going to pass these 2 on. So now that all of the declutter kind of housekeeping is out of the way, let me go ahead and reorganize these blushes into this drawer. I also And let me scooch you over a little bit like this. I have one little mini here, and then this big pink container. I've put all of my Hourglass palettes over here. These palettes are special, so they have their own little thing. I'm hoping that I can make this work. I'm going to see if I can fit them in this. If not, I might have to end up doing something else, but we're going to give it a go, so let's see how this goes. Okay, so now my drawer is reorganized. Now you can tell definitely that I had to do something different here. These were not going to fit. I only had this little small, let me scooch over a little bit. I only had this small container here and then this, and I had my Hourglass palettes in that. That was not going to work. So I just laid some of these down just to kind of fill in the space, but the powder side definitely looks way neater. I'd like to purchase more of these little squares. I got those from Dollar Tree, and then maybe I could get rid of this pink thing and have just 4 of these. I think that would look a little bit better because I like this side better, but for right now this is all I can do until I can purchase more of those. But if I do that, then I will rearrange this side to look a lot neater than this. I'll have to figure something else out with my Hourglass palettes because I want them to be in a safe spot because they are absolutely precious to me. But I am just so thrilled now that this looks so much better, so much more organized, and I will soon be doing my everyday makeup drawer for the month of September. And this is going to make this so much easier to pull out some of the blushes that I want to use because now I can see them. They're in alphabetical order, so I know where everybody's at, and I can't wait to be able to properly pick out blushes. But I do hope that you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, I hope you will please consider leaving a like, a comment, or subscribing if you haven't already. And make sure you hit the bell icon so you are alerted to all my future uploads, and follow me on Instagram at jessicadeerly, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!